Namaste, good evening. Welcome to the 34th session of the Blub World Web Talks. We had all of you participate in the earlier editions of this, and we had taken your thoughts on no lockdowns and learning. Now, in this new session, we have started with a new topic, and that has been shared with you, that we're all looking at a future that we are very uncertain about. Our prediction and forecasting skills are not working very well with that. So just to understand and evaluate what kind of a situation we'll be having in the schools post this lockdown, we have suggested a topic that whether, just to put the topic as it is paraphrased, the future teacher or the teacher's future. A lot of social distancing happening, but within last some of the talks that we had on this topic, a very nice observation was shared by the principal of the Kalinga Institute in Odisha. They say he shared an opinion that the schools are supposed to bring the society together, and now they are supposed to teach social distancing. So how would this paradox actually happen? We are there to teach them how to come together and be together as a society, but now we have to teach them to keep distance from each other. So it's going to be a paradox that we have to teach, and there are going to be new challenges that are going to be there. So today we'll try to take your opinions on that. And before we start, to set the tone, we today have a special guest with us. We have Charu Noheria, who's the co-founder of Practically and Thirdflix. So she'll be, sharing a small PPT to set the tone to the whole discussion, that what are the answers that we're looking to and what are the questions that we want answered during this whole chat. So over to Charu for the next 3 to 4 minutes. Charu, over to you. We'll see a small presentation that has a lot of questions, and then we'll go into discussion so that we can have some more better answers coming in from you. So over to Charu.
Thank you. Thanks, Daksh, for the intro there. So I'll just jump. You can see our screen. I'll just, take you through a bit of experience. There'll be some of these provocative questions that you might find, some of thought-provoking tangents we'll take, but I think it's important for us to know what the role of the future teacher would look like. And I think you guys, being in the field, are best suited to answer some of these questions, or what the teacher's future would look like, right? How these future teachers, which we know as of today we work with, is going to change over time, right? So, I'm the co-founder of Practically. It's Practically is the brand name, Thirdflix is the company name. We strongly believe learning is an experience and everything else is information. And this is what Einstein said, and it's something that I really like to share with everybody I talk to, because it has to be an experience. It cannot be, it has to be ubiquitous. Learning is everywhere around us. So going down, next. Some of the things that, we have been, I've been part of discussions, quite thought-provoking, what this new role of teachers, which is emerging post-COVID, look like, right? How this new role is going to be important for us. It's very, very important in an era where students are looking for instant gratification, right? We are in an era of Snapchat, WhatsApp, Facebook, a lot of social media, where you post one post and you get 50 likes in the next 60 seconds, right? So it's instant gratification. So in that kind of a world where, knowledge is as a mouse click away, right? The role of an educator obviously has to change. So in that kind of a scenario, should the teacher be called a coach, a mentor, a guide? Could a teacher be a facilitator of learning rather than the primary delivery of, the mode of learning or the content? Could the teacher be an enabler? Enabler in what personalized path you could take or a student could take for their learning? Could they act like a guide? Or they could act like a catalyst towards how this learning becomes much more interesting, right? For the kid and for the entire group of children that they're catering to. But this is something that everybody's talking about, how the teacher's role is going to change, how this, the young people that we're trying to create, they need more resilience, more adaptability, and how the teacher is going to adapt to this new ecosystem. But how many of these teachers, current teachers, are going to be comfortable in this new space, right? How many of these teachers are thinking about new techniques, new methodologies, adapting themselves for the change that is yet to come? and the new century of new generation of the kids are looking forward to, right? How do they seek their attention and capture their attention? That is something we are looking forward to you guys contribute to that discussion. What is this industry perspective? What are the industry actually looking for? What are the questions, outliers that we keep hearing? And what is the industry's perspective on some of these? So when you look at it, right, we keep talking about lifelong learning for doctors, for engineers, right? Lifelong learning is lifelong learners, actually teachers create, right? Teachers create lifelong learners, which are students. But what about lifelong learning for teachers themselves? Do we anytime think about that teachers also need to continue learning lifelong, right? And this is something that we strongly, have to think about. So I keep giving this anecdote to some of my team. So if a doctor prescribes a medicine that he studied in medical college like a decade back, or 2 decades back, how detrimental that would be if the doctor stopped learning continuously. So we keep thinking about continued medical education, for example, right? We have IEEE for engineers, things like that. But what about teachers? When are teachers are we going to give them a space for learning on a continuous basis, right? So that's the idea there. How do we build teacher capacity? See, everywhere we've been talking about doctor capacity, bed capacity, especially in this COVID world. How do we build healthcare capacity, right? But how do we build teacher capacity? Are we looking at building teachers for the surge of students that going to learn in the next decade? Are we thinking proactively rather than reactively, right? How do we build these new generation of teachers who really understand the new generation of students? So that is something we need to look at. The next question that emerges is, are we prepared for technology replacing poor teaching? We all know that a teacher cannot be replaced. Teacher and student have a holy relationship, right? And we truly respect that. Yesterday, we couldn't replace a teacher. Today, we cannot replace. Tomorrow also, nobody is trying to replace a teacher, right? Technology cannot do that. But are we prepared for technology replacing poor teaching, so to speak? How can technology help teachers improve, so to speak, what they deliver in the class, how they engage with the students, how they take students through this immersive experience of delivery of content and spark that curiosity, which is too innate for a learner, right? And some of the other things that we keep hearing about in the industry is like what demonetization did to payments, right? That is something that we feel COVID-19 will do to education, right? Where we as leaders, we as being in the field, educationists, principals, we are now have to think about always a plan B being with us, right? We always have cash in our pocket. We may not have it tomorrow, but we do have a phone that we can use to swipe our credit card or something in our pocket all the time. So there is plan C, plan B thinking now that is triggered. The other thing that we keep debating about in the industry, systems are built for an average learner, right? Not just the average learner, they're also built for an average teacher. So whatever we see and whatever we have built around us, right, that is more so for an average teacher and a learner. So what happens is the average education continues. But how do we discover these extraordinary skills even in an average learner, right? We have to put that learner and put into different contexts, different situations. I think take them, make learning more personalized. So that way we at least are making it somewhat personal, and both ends of the spectrum. Kids who are really not being able to, match up with the average standard of the class, those, and also who have surpassed the average standard of the class and are extraordinary, both are actually suffering in this environment. Right? So there definitely is an opportunity for us to think about how do we help these two ends of the spectrum also. And are the teachers equipped, right? And do they have sufficient ammunition in their hands to actually handle that? Few other things that come to mind is like AI. AI will help in self-directed learning, right? Artificial intelligence it's a set of algorithms. It's lines of code essentially. but we have to use it, to our advantage. Number A. The B is that it can be used for self-directed study, right? We unlock how technology can actually unlocking technology to deliver education. So how we actually, how teachers do outside of the self-directed study, right? Technology and AI can do so much. It can actually deliver content, it can personalize things, it can actually do a lot for the student, right, to help balance, measure the performance. But what teacher can do outside of this self-directed study, and what technology can deliver, is going to be really important for our future teachers, right? How they facilitate active learning. And active learning is in more experiential, where a student and teacher are both involved. There is a space of doing some activity. That is going to be very crucial. And how this entrepreneurial mindset is set in, like now we just got into this pandemic, we now scrambling to put things together, virtual classrooms, this, that, somehow we are making it. So now all teachers, principals have suddenly become entrepreneurs of their time, right? Because we've never been posed such a problem or a challenge before, where we were solving problem at this capacity. This is, for most of us, this may be once in a lifetime. But how do we prepare the generation of students in 85% of the jobs in 2030, which is not very far, 10 years later? The whole generation Z and generation Alpha, right, that we talk about, the jobs will not, they're not even invented yet. So this is a new surge of jobs that we will see in 2030. 85% of them, we don't even know what they are going to look like today. So this generation, which we call, see, generation Z is the, millennials, and, our probably 1990 onwards born. Generation Alpha, which is born with a mobile phone in their hand, right? Who only know how to do social learning and how social media works and stuff like that. It's going to be even more difficult for us to teach those kind of kids. So are we prepared to make their mindset very entrepreneurial, how they overcome challenges? So those are some of the discussions that we have been part of, and we think it's very interesting to hear from you guys. For some of these questions, what about lifelong learning for teachers? How do we build teacher capacity? Are we prepared for technology to replace poor teaching? Right? Those are some of the questions that come to mind. So Daksh, over to you. You want to take the discussion forward?
Thank you, Charu. So this was basically to set the tone of the discussion, that what are we actually looking at? Because once the schools reopen, there is one portion of operations which will be a responsibility, because all the state governments and the central government will be issuing a lot of notifications that will be coming out कि इतना आपको distance रखना है, इतना आपको sanitization करना है, इतनी आपको बच्चों की health के लिए ध्यान रखना है. शायद हो सकता है we might all be told to have an infirmary within the school for sure. So that's something that would be based on the policy decisions that get taken. But beyond the policy, how would we as educationists improve the experience of education for the learner? Because what we have learned so far is that as it happens in the global markets, when they started commerce, it was a seller's market, where the seller used to decide ki bhai mujhe kya, what will I make available to the market, and the people used to buy that. But over a course of time and over a course of development of economic forces, that became a buyer's market, that the buyer decided what they wanted and the seller provided what the buyer wanted. And I think this shift has happened in the education sector right now, that from a educators or a school's ecosystem, it's now a learner's ecosystem, because what content you're delivering or the way you are teaching is immaterial to what the learner is actually learning, because he decides that does he want to hear you or not, does he want to actually sit and be attentive, because right now you do not have him in a controlled atmosphere. So the reactions, the learning, everything has changed. So let's start knowing your perspective on these questions, and what do you think of the future teacher or the teacher's future? So let's now start it from Dr. Richa Prakash. Richa ma'am, over to you for the next 2 minutes. You can unmute your audio.
Well, I won't be keeping in mind that all the others are muted. Well, good evening, and thank you, Blub World, for inviting me. And I think this, when I was told about this topic, it is a very interesting thought. The first thing that came to my mind was that, during these COVID times, and I don't know when will we be able to say actually post-COVID. So during these times, we have been actually able to reinvent education as a whole. So when I say that, and when I was told this specifically this topic, I think the future of the teacher and the teacher's future, they are not something which are juxtaposed against each other. Rather, they are working in sync with each other at this point in time. And I think all of us have seen that our many teachers uh, who had certain you know limitations with technology have risen up to this occasion, and most of us have started the online learning and teaching, and teachers have shown immense fortitude in fact during these times. So while going to the very oft quoted uh, statement of Winston Churchill, that never let a good crisis go waste. Of course, I'm not trying to say in these difficult times, these are difficult times for all of us. So I think teachers have shown an immense fortitude, and if we really see how the future teacher will be, I think the teachers already adapted themselves very well. At least I can say for most of the schools these days, we have really adapted well, and we have seen the educators have really lived up to their, beyond our expectations. So I think they need to be further much more flexible and adaptable. And as Charu mentioned, we have to, now this one thing has been achieved. The digital online learning has begun. Now, how to make it more differentiated and personalized is very, very important. And how do we help the children learn it at their pace? The self-paced learning has to be really looked into as well. The teacher would over a period of time will have to use tools like flipped learning and also blended learning, wherein they can share the resources, help the child come back to an online face-to-face interaction, which will give which is where the strength of the teaching community comes in, because as the quotation says, learning is an experience. There is knowledge, there is plethora of knowledge everywhere, but learning is an experience, and that experience is something which we can only get in the so-called four walls, which are now the walls of the home. We have taken the school to the home. So teachers are more prone now to being more transparent, and they have actually lived up to that challenge also, wherein we couldn't have expected a parent to come and sit in the class and observe the teacher. That was far too blasphemous in our times, but now this is exactly what is happening. It has increased.
Thank you, Risha ma'am. We had to actually cut it short. We'll try to again come back to it if possible. Thank you so much. Let's now hear it from Usha ma'am. Usha ma'am, over to you for the next 2 minutes. You can unmute your audio. Let's find out your thoughts on the future teacher or the teacher's future. You can unmute your audio. You're muted.
Yes, myself Usha Sharma, Principal SRN International School, Jaipur, and thank you Dash that giving me opportunity to attend this webinar. Very good discussion is going on. That is really, it's a difficult time, challenging situation, but really we have learned a lot. All the teachers, they have learned this technology and they're experimenting a lot. Moreover, the teacher has to be very creative in future. I'm telling you, more and more creative, or you can say the innovators that keep on innovating various applications. It means searching the applications, then experimenting the applications of the teaching, then applying these applications, that which one is the best. Like we face the problem in respect of Zoom as you are following, but we got this problem from the parents, and immediately all the teachers on Sunday and Saturday, they sacrificed. And we experimented this Cisco Web, we experimented this Microsoft, we experimented Google Meet, and we just discussed the plus and minus point, and accordingly we have taken the Google Meet. Parents are extremely happy. In respect of this examination, earlier the threat was there, how to conduct the exams. Then accordingly we search various ways like this Google Meet and as well as this exam.net, where the parents will become the invigilator and exam will be conducted. So this way the would-be teachers of the robotics age will be teacher come innovators, I can say, and must be full of this creativity, that how to deliver the knowledge through various applications, but in respect of technology, she or he must be very, very strong to deliver the knowledge. But in respect of certain areas that we have to discuss certain charts or certain activities there. So he and she has to apply various technique how to deliver the knowledge. So she has to continue this kind of this innovations in future also, if the teacher wants good connectivity with the students. So that is my idea. Then future, the robotics age, teacher is going to be a very good innovator, will be searching and will be innovating the various technique of teaching to the students.
Absolutely. I think the teacher will be super tech savvy now, has already actually become tech savvy now. They've learned technology very well,
Yes.
and they've absorbed it within their ecosystems. Thank you so much, Usha ma'am, for sharing those thoughts. Let's now hear it from Sanjay sir. Sanjay sir, over to you for the next 2 minutes. Sanjay Jogai sir, you can unmute your audio.
Hello, good evening, everybody. And thank you, Dax, for giving me another opportunity. I am principal of Delhi World Public School, Jamshedpur. Now, what Charu also has mentioned, Dax also is mentioning about the new ecosystem and the lifelong learning. Obviously, the lifelong learning already has started from our side as well as the teacher side. But here I would like to mention few of the points that if the students, they gain the 21st century skills and reach, and the teachers that try to reach the increasingly complex standards, I don't think there is any fear for them. Those who can enable a diverse group of learners to achieve the high levels, then those who can use cutting edge pedagogical practices, which are actually taken out through various researches, they are safe. Then those who can make complex educational decisions in this particular complex situation, when a lot of things will come after once the school reopens. I think many of the SOPs, etc., will be sent to the schools for various post-COVID school arrangements and environment. So what I understand, that if a teacher knows the subject well, but simultaneously know how to teach that subject, that is more important. And knowledge and content pedagogy are equally important. That means a teacher has the knowledge, but he does not know how to deliver it, whether it is technologically or whether it is in the traditional classroom system. So he has to understand that he has to undergo a lot of change as per the interest of the students. And children, as we have already seen through various technological glitches that we have come across on the media as well as the schools also are facing while the online classes are going on. We have to understand that children, they are very smart. They have to be given some kind of training, and the parents also need the training. The parents also have to understand that at home, it is the child who is under their control. So it is not the control of the teacher. They have to understand that they have to completely monitor, and if not completely, at least overlook those kind of things and what the child is doing. So the future of the teacher depends on how quickly they adapt and incorporate new technology to their teaching styles. So this is what they need not be afraid if they learn fast and move according to the pace of the moving world. So this is what is my view about the future teacher.
Thank you so much, Sanjay sir. The teacher has to be continuously updated with new stuff, new content coming in. There was a very nice thought shared by one of the principals some days back in a discussion that COVID or Corona had a lot of hotspots in places where people got together, whether they were, fruit markets or vegetable markets, or a lot of different places where Corona found its hotspots. And what we can think of, that the role of a school will now be much more bigger and better in the times to come, because these schools can become the immunity hotspots for the society, because a child can very easily carry awareness to a big section of the society. So we can be the knowledge bearers for the coming times, and we will be typically teaching the society how to live again in the new times. So let's now hear it from Dr. Maya Shankar Jha. So over to you for the next 2 minutes. You can unmute your audio.
Good morning, everybody. The future teacher, or the teacher's future, is very interesting. The future teacher means teachers who are always interested to learn with technology before teaching, which will allow them to be more comfortable needs a purely practical and sensible teachers, because nowadays and or in 2020 is a digital world. While the importance of physical classes are decreasing and online future of teachers, first, believe in our student potential. Second, learn everything in the field of study. Third, be fun and energetic. Fourth, take risks and not introverts. Fifth, be creative and think outside the box of life. Be consistent and always be up to date.
There's a lot of audio disturbance that we can feel. There's some technical issue, I think. We'll try to come back to you again and take your thoughts if possible.
Okay.
You can share those thoughts with us on chat. We'll share it with everybody as well. So thank you so much, Dr. Maya Shankar Jha. We'll try to come back to you. Let's now hear it from Dr. Subhash. Subhash sir, over to you for the next 2 minutes. You can unmute your audio.
Good evening, everybody. I, Dr. Subhash Chandra Datta, National ID Headmaster, Kanchannagar DMS High School. The word teacher is very simple, but it is much more significant. In brief, the teacher is a torch bearer of change of any type. Now, all over the world, there is a lack of peace and darkened period comes. But we take a lesson from the history that whenever dark comes in the society or nation, the teacher come forward to overcome the situation and difficulties. Similarly, in the present scenario, the role of teacher is very much significant and valuable. The teacher be always efficient and ready for any situation. Now, in lockdown occurred situation, the formal learning system is bound to stop due to the world pandemic COVID-19. But definitely, learning should not be stopped. And I think the learning is not merely bookish. With the up-to-date knowledge, the teacher should come forward to tackle the situation, which the help of online electronic devices. Communication is the powerful learning tool for the success. In lockdown period, the student may be bold and restless. So the usual formal methods and merely syllabus-based learning may be forms of monotone. But if we learn them with audiovisual, cartoon, gameplay system, animation, serial-based story making with models, then it will be more effective for them. Even some indoor games may be introduced as their confident and confined places to their houses. In this way, students may be joyful to overcome their dullness. So teachers should be up to date. Otherwise, the future of the teacher will be dark, as well as the future of the student may be spoiled. So, in the present situation, the teacher should be always innovative, adjustable to the situation. The further of the bookish teacher who are not up to date is dark. On the other hand, who are innovative and up to date and expert in current devices, that is digital learning, in online system. No doubt the future of them will be bright and they will be real friend, philosopher and guide. And above all, a human behind the machine. Thank you to everybody. Good wishes from me.
Thank you, sir. I think now we actually have to think on the lines that we have to isolate the skills that a teacher should have and that are things that technology cannot do. So every skill has to be simply tested on the scale whether tech can do that. If tech can do that, that's no more a utilizable skill. So you have to find out skills that tech cannot do, that only humans can do. Let's now hear it from Rajendra sir. Rajendra sir, over to you for the next 2 minutes. You can unmute your audio.
Thank you, sir. Good evening and namaste to everybody else. My name is Rajendra Gurung. I'm the principal of Eureka Residential School from Nepal. Today we're talking about teachers' future and the thing. So far the speakers have been wonderful. I came to know a lot of things about it. Let me start from my own school. In my kindergarten, most of the teachers are from about late 40s or early 50s, the lead teachers. And due to this pandemic, we had to start off the smart classes, I mean, whatever you call it, Zoom class or maybe whatever online classes. They were compared to children themselves, even though they had smartphones in their hands, but they were confined to only the Facebook and all the stuff, chatting and all. But once we started the online classes, they were compared to children themselves. And to some extent, even their younger counterparts, they help them out how to use how to use this WhatsApp and all. So I think this is a compulsion the teacher has to go through. That lifelong learning cannot be confined to only the students. Even the teachers has to grab it on their own. Number one. But the most important thing, which no speakers even now I've heard about, is that the kind of mental torture that teachers are going through. You know, I don't know exactly what's happening in India. Even though I came across a video yesterday from Rajasthan, a principal has been talking about it. Yesterday I came across a video about Delhi school. But here in Nepal, our government has some directives about 3 months fee and so on and so forth. So the government, the community, the society are not really helping the schools about this pandemic. So the teachers are going through a mental trauma right now. I think if the scenario continues, I think people got to think many a times before joining into as a teacher. Obviously, there are things you can say like this guy has to professionally develop themselves or uplift themselves or be more technical savvy. But having said that, we got to remember, we got to see through the point of view of the teachers, because they are the ones who have been going through the sufferings as well. So I think, in my opinion, it is important that we talk about teachers' future, but not only in the terms of the technology or the classrooms, but in terms of their securities and their future as well. So I think I would like to hear more about it. Once again, thank you, Doug sir, and Blub, for a beautiful opportunity. It's my pleasure, and that I've come across so many wonderful people through Blub. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajendra sir. And India has the same scenario where most of the state governments and the central government has issued notifications that the school cannot charge any form of fees from the parents for the period of 3 months, which has become a big pain point for most of the schools, because managing expenses, managing salaries has become a bit of a problem. Richa ma'am, will try to come to you in the second half if it's possible. Yeah, if you want to add in, I'll give you the next 30 seconds. Please, you can unmute your audio, but try to keep it crisp. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to intervene, hearing that just now the news has come in that the Supreme Court has said that schools can charge, and how will the schools manage the entire paraphernalia of their infrastructure and staff members if they can't charge the fees. So just now the Supreme Court has said this in India for the benefit of those who are from outside. So I was just wanting to say this. Rest, of course, Daksh, please continue. If you will give me time later on, then I'll speak about it.
Please.
Thank you.
That's a very important piece of information. Let's all delve into and find out this news. that how has the Supreme Court allowed? Are there some TNC to it? And let's find out, because for a lot of schools, it is actually a big struggle time right now, and they're not able to bear the costs of teachers. Salaries have not been remitted, and there are a lot of issues that are going on due to this very reason. Let's now hear it from CK Palit sir. CK sir, over to you for the next 2 minutes. You can unmute your audio.
Good evening to all. Actually, I joined here as an audience, but as Daksh has invited me to give my views on this one. So thank you, Daksh. Thank you, Mr. Purohit, for giving me an opportunity to be with the eminent panel of educationists. Now, when we are talking about the education and how it is going to happen, I was listening to all my fellow colleagues here. Wonderful thing we are doing here as far as online is concerned. Now, the post-COVID scenario, how it is, I think that is the point what we are going to discuss. And we believe that blended learning has to be one of the important mode of our teaching scenario in the coming days, which we are not very sure when we'll be coming out of the lockdown situation. Now, as we have been hearing that there will be an odd and even system. So the children having the even roll number, they will come on Monday, odd roll number come on Tuesday. So one day virtual learning, one day actual learning. So these are the things which the scenarios are coming up. But given the situation, when you are looking into this scenario, the lockdown situation, I think all the teachers and we, the leaders of the school, have got an opportunity to have our personal touch with the technology. Maybe till now, we were more depending on our teachers, those who are from the computer science department or some other people to do that to do the other thing. But today, when the teachers, they have to prepare an online class module. So I believe that all the teachers are looking into the different type of tools which are available to them. And we are feeling very happy that the teachers are using the online tools which are available for them to create good video lessons, good PowerPoint presentations, good online transactions of the classes. Definitely, we expect from the government that as one of the speaker very nicely pointed out, in the rural areas, maybe we have the challenges of the connectivity. So with the advancement of the technology, the connectivity issue will be able to overcome. And this mode of teaching has to continue in the near future. And if you look into the careers which are opening up after the post-COVID scenario, are mostly which are related to the internet. We are talking of machine learning, we are talking of IoT, we are talking of database, that is your data scientists. So all these things are coming. I was just attending a seminar there, a webinar rather. Yes, Mr. Dibi, I will be following your instructions very carefully, and I will be very happy to complete my session within another 30 seconds. So now the thing is that the trend has to be there, subject plus digital. It will be bioinformatics, commerce informatics, geography informatics, English informatics. So that is what it is becoming very important. So the curriculum has to be redesigned at the school level. I'm not talking about CBSE and ICSE. We, the leaders, have to redesign our curriculum so that we add more of digital component in our teaching process, and the children will be happily learning all these things, and they will be more digitally savvy to handle all the things. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to interact with you all. Thank you, Daksh. Thank you, Divya. Thank you to all the eminent panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Now, since we have got all of your thoughts on how does the teacher's future look, or how does the future teacher look, let's now hear some concluding thoughts from Charu. Charu, I think you have some solutions to the questions that you brought.
Yeah, so very interesting to hear how I can see an entrepreneur. I am running my own company, so I'm an entrepreneur, but I can see true entrepreneurs in all of you who are actually changing. On the field level, how do you all the challenges that you bring. So a lot of solutioning that you guys have done in such a short period of time. So amazing to see that. And I think some of the things that Usha ma'am, pointed out, like how schools have overnight now experimented and evaluated multiple solutions like virtual classrooms and stuff like that, and then rolled it out at scale, right? For a school to do, it's not easy. That to having parent buy-in, where there was a thought around screen time where parents were quite opposed to it, but now they're at least happy that the kid is learning rather than months and months passing away. And I think CK Palitzer also mentioned about learning modules, right? How does teacher be creative and innovate these learning modules and package them like a prescription a doctor gives and saying, okay, you do this at home and tomorrow we'll discuss. So all those evolutionary ways of blended learning, flipped classroom, and every teacher does it very differently, right? What works for one teacher may not work for the other teacher, and what works for one student may not work for the other student. So I think we are yet to see how the best of these models survive and which one will gain scale to kind of then emerge in a post-COVID teacher with a post-COVID solution and delivering this to a post-COVID student. So very interesting thoughts. I think I learned a lot from all of your guys' thought, and I'm sure some of these ideas that I've got will go back into the solutions that we build. So moving on, I'll just share the last few thoughts that we have here. And so just going on. Okay. So just showing you a small showreel of what we do at Practically and what we kind of believe and nurture.
Curiosity is our most basic instinct. It fuels our desire to learn, to open pages that we otherwise wouldn't. But sometimes those pages aren't enough. So we ask, what if? What if our books come alive in front of us and let us touch things we never knew we could? What if we could learn with each other and get better together? What if our lessons were movies? Movies that we could be a part of. Presenting the world's most advanced learning application. Fuel your curiosity with Practically.
That's a small promo video of our company. And just to kind of ingrain the philosophy, right, that we have towards practical learning. That's what we do. That's why the company named Practically. And just to go to the next slide. Who are we, right? We are a young insurgent brand. I'm sure a lot of you might not have heard of Practically yet, but I'm sure you'll soon, as we gain traction in the market, as we deliver value to more and more teachers and schools, you'll definitely hear more about us. We are based in Hyderabad. We are a young insurgent brand and an evangelist for limitless learning. We truly believe that learning is everywhere. Teacher is a mere enabler for learning. We believe there is an explorer in each one of us, but conventional education stifles our zeal to learn. And when we talk about explorer, it's not just the student explorer, right? There's a teacher who's exploring new ways of teaching. There's a parent exploring how he can contribute in the whole paradigm of his kid going on a journey for learning, right? So all the three actors are very crucial to the student's learning journey itself. Our vision at Practically is to reshape the way the world learns. And we do this by reimagining the way learning comes alive, right? We want learning to come alive. We don't want students to study. We want students to learn. And we want to mark that clear differentiation. We want to democratize limitless learning. So, learning is everywhere. Learning has no pass or fail. You can always pass or fail on a test, but you can never pass on or fail while learning, right? empowering teachers to leapfrog, right? How do we empower teachers to get on to the next new thing? How do we empower them to implement new things in their own personal ways? So we definitely stand for teachers with them. Leading an ecosystem of world-class partners. Our vision is big. We definitely can't do all by ourselves. So we do partner with some of the best in the world. We want to build a global brand that compels advocacy, right? We want to be a brand which actually compels the kind of brand that we are building, which advocacy for the teachers, for the students, for limitless learning, for practical approach to learning, right? Why learning? It has to be an out of the book experience. We call it the out of the world experience. We at Practically call it out of the book experience. And that's what we strive to deliver. So that's who we are. Please visit. I encourage all of you to visit practically.com. We are here to make learning alive. And if for any questions, please feel free to drop a message on WhatsApp, or please send us an email or drop a message. Thanks, Daksh. Thanks for inviting me. It was a pleasure talking to everyone here. It was really, really amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for supporting the whole initiative. Thank you so much. And we have got a lot of nice thoughts coming in from all of you. And we would request one very small thing, a small change that we asked all the school leaders that we've been talking to. These are the times when actually each of you will be creating a big bank of ideas and knowledge that the world would need. So please start, or if you already have started, try creating at least one piece of observation paper every day. It could be a very small observation, as little as just finding a small difference in the attitude of the children who attend your classes. Because this is the time when you can actually observe the experiment happening in front of you. And we might not get to do this ever. And this would be the world's biggest experiment on education. Because the biggest thing that has got impacted and which has responded to the impact is education. And this is the time where we should actually be a part of writing history, because every single observation that you do right now would be a big change maker in the future once we are out of this agony. And what we can all see right now as humans, we all have started becoming more empathetic towards our society, because we now know one very single thing, that even an individual sitting far, far off in the US is in very simple ways connected to every simple human being everywhere, even to us. So as a race, we are right now looking at development and seeing a big turn of the way we live and the way our societal interactions happen. So I hope we'll be making that great big change coming in. And that's why we are doing these activities on a regular basis, because we want to gather those observations to create a repository that helps human race even beyond this. I hope you enjoyed the last 40-50 minutes. If you did and want to attend the future sessions, you can open your mic and say a big yes. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here with us.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.